to reach your goals in your practice and in your personal life. I am pleased to be serving as the moderator for this Cornerstone session. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping remarks. Please note the location of the exit doors. In the event of an emergency, if you are asked to evacuate the building, or if you need to leave the session for any reason, please use these doors. Also, please be courteous and silence your iPhones, iPads, and other electronic devices so as not to disrupt our speaker and the attendees around you. If you are tweeting about the session or other meeting experiences, remember to use the hashtag MDRT GC 2019. We had the opportunity to hear Dr. Nick Montes talk about working smarter, not harder, during Monday's main platform session. During this afternoon's Cornerstone session, we have the opportunity to delve deeper, strategically managing change in a way that increases your productivity and the ability to gain a competitive advantage. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nick Montes.
Hello, everybody.
Get up, girl.
It's a global conference after all. I introduced you to my family yesterday. Let's put that slide up again. You know, I worry about my kids because the world is changing. Lots of technology. It's a global environment. But I don't think we've celebrated our globalness here at MDRT as much as we should have. So I'm going to do a little bit of that, all right? So I'm going to say hello again, and let's take care of all the hellos, all right? So I'll say hello, and you yell back, all right? Hello!
Hello.
How about a little Australian? Good day! Good day. All right, let's try some Hindi. Namaste. Namaste. All right. I like that. Arabic. Marhaban. All right. How about Chinese? Ni hao. Ni hao. That was loud. Let's do that again. Ni hao. Ni hao. Whee. Celebrate the Chinese. That's it. Vietnamese. Xin chào.
Xin chào.
Vietnamese in the back. Xin chào.
Xin chào.
Very good. Wow, this is awesome. How about some Korean? 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. Got you covered, my man. Let's end up with some, what should we try? Some Thai. Sawadee.
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 All right, I think that covers everybody. Very good. You know, the other thing we should celebrate. Yesterday, if you recall in my presentation, I talked a lot about MDRT, the importance of $1 million because we want to make some money, make sure we build wealth for ourselves and our clients. And RT, roundtable, building relationships and socializing with one another. Both are very critical. We need to emphasize the effort on both the MD and the RT. So when I say MD, you yell RT. MD! RT! MD! RT! Excellent. Let's get started with my presentation, shall we? Let's talk about our work. Our work has changed. I want to go back about 150, 200 years ago. Go back to the agricultural era. Land was the primary resource. We grow food in our backyard. We're farmers. And we want to sell something. We sell agricultural products to each other. So if I go to a farmer and I want to buy some oranges, I go to him, hey, I want to buy some oranges. You know what the farmer does? He gives me an orange. Here, taste it. And I take the orange, and I peel it open, and I taste it. It smells sweet. It tastes good. And I make an assumption. The assumption is this, that the orange he gives me is a generalizable sample of all the oranges that I will buy from him. And we do a transaction. Fantastic. That was 150 years ago in the agricultural era. Fast forward 100 years to the industrial era. Now I want to buy a car. What do I do to buy a car? I go to a car dealership. Somebody gives me a car to test drive. I kick the tires, I smell the car, I go for a drive. I like that car. I want to change the paint, but I like that car. And I buy that car. Today, in the knowledge era, I come to you, the financial advisor, and I ask you, what are you selling me? What do you tell me? Go ahead, yell. Future. What else? Peace and calmness. I gave you that hint yesterday, didn't I? What else? Solutions. Expertise. Protection. Okay, let's review. Protection, expertise, solutions, the future. What's the problem with all these words? They're intangible, thank you very much. Remember when the farmer bought the orange? He could taste, he could smell that orange. When the guy bought the car, he could test drive the car. But now I come to you and you're telling me, I'm selling you this thing. It's intangible, Nick. Buy it from me. How can I buy it from you? What must I have in order to buy it from you? I must have trust. I must have an appreciation that you're going to take care of me and my family. And that's an intangible asset. And that requires a whole new set of skills when we're building relationships, when we're socializing with each other. Yet, here we're talking about building trust and building a reputation and building brand, but we're in a world of technology. It's very difficult to build a relationship when you're all sitting there on your phones right now. And you're talking to each other. You remember what I said yesterday about your phone? It's the last thing you touch at night before you go to bed. You remember that? And the first thing you touch when you wake up in the morning, you remember that? Do you know that I have students as a university professor who try to get a hold of me in the middle of the night? Unbelievable, I know. When I started teaching at university 20 years ago, do you know what it took for a student to get a hold of me as a university professor? Remember when you went to university 10, 15, 20 years ago, what it took? I invented this thing. It wasn't my invention. We all had these things called office hours. Remember office hours? My office hour, guess what it was? Friday, 9 p.m. at night. Best time for an office hour. Nobody came. Now students email me at 2:05 in the morning. And I'm supposed to respond. And you know what the emails are like nowadays from young people? Have you ever seen some of these emails? Maybe from your children, your nieces, or your nephews? Let me give you an example of an email that I just got recently from a student at 2:05 in the morning. You ready? Here it goes. Yo, Mickey B, what's up, my brother? That was a great PowerPoint presentation today. How about you control CV and ship it to me? Peace out. No Dr. Bontis, no how are you, no thank you, no sincerely. And of course, I don't respond because at 2:05 I should be doing some other things with my life. But at 2:06 in the morning, guess what happened? I got an alert from ratemyprofessor.com. And the alert said, Bontis is an ass. Because I didn't respond. So therein lies the question. Are we available 24/7 as financial advisors? What's the answer? Yes or no? The answer is, what type of life do you want? That's the answer. Because let me tell you, if I responded at 2:05 in the morning or 2:06 in the morning, 2,000 other students would also come begging for me. And that's not the type of life I want. So we have to be careful. Do we control the technology, or does the technology control us? That's the most important thing. Because our children, let me tell you, they got a different relationship with technology. They develop their own language. For those of you that are English in the house, this language is based on speed. Makes no sense, no spelling, no grammar. Anybody know what the first one is? We'll do a test. Talk to you later. How about the second one? Very good. How about the third one? Good. How about the fourth one? Oh, you don't know the fourth one. That one's a little tricky, eh? Let me tell you the fourth one. The fourth one is falling off my chair laughing. Normally, I thought LOL was actually better, but I don't know what. And the last one, if you don't know the last one, you could be in deep, deep trouble. The last one is... Ooh, mother over shoulder. Your daughter's in her bedroom and she's up to no good and she's writing MOS. Pay attention. She can be up to no good. Now let's talk a little bit about what I came here to talk about. How we as financial advisors need to manage strategically through disruptive technology. This is very, very important because the world that we're going to enter as advisors in the next 5 years will be fundamentally different than the one that we came from 5 years ago. First one, robo-advisors. How many of you are familiar with robo-advisors already? Put your hands up. Okay, some of them. Robo-advisors, think of them as very, very advanced Sophia from yesterday, with artificial intelligence, speaking to our customers, doing transactional business. Well, let me tell you something. Yes, robots are pretty good and smart, but you know what they can't do? They can't look into your eyes. So when I look into Harry's eyes from Melbourne right there, I see what Harry's doing. What's he doing? Who remembers from yesterday? Smiling with his eyes. And when he's smiling with his eyes, what is he telling me to do? Keep going, Nick. I got you. I'm with you. I'm going to give you your money, Nick, if you're a good person. Keep going, Nick. I got you. These nuances that are human, they're not going to be in computers and not in AI for a long, long time. But we're getting close because we have to trust them. And some customers do for transactional purposes, and some customers trust them for portfolio management. Because when they're managing investments, they say, yes, artificial intelligence has no emotion. And the problem with humans is we buy and sell when? At the wrong time. Because of emotion. So maybe that is a benefit. Now I can tell you, yesterday, I mentioned to you that I was a Tesla owner. You know that for Tesla vehicles, we have autopilot. When I first bought my Tesla, and I put my 3 children in the back, do you think I was gonna let the car be driven by a computer? No way. These are my children we're talking about, my most important asset. So at the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna do it on the highway in a straight line just for a few seconds. I was, okay, that's enough. I was very, very nervous. And then a little bit more. Okay, for a couple of minutes. Wow, this thing understands, it sees cars, it's starting to steer. Wow. So what happened to me was I started to learn. The technology was advanced. And it turns out that a Tesla vehicle has multiple cameras and makes 1 million gazillion calculations every second, faster than I ever could. And I was driving with the Tesla a few months later, and all of a sudden, it broke really quickly. Faster than I reacted to brake. Why? Because it saw something ahead to protect me and my family. And from that day forward, I said, this thing is smarter than me. And as time went on, and now I've had my Tesla for 2 years, you can imagine how I drive my kids to school every day. Tesla, go ahead, take them. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen with all technology, especially when it comes to financial management and protecting our risk and protecting our estate and protecting our assets and the wealth of our clients. But over time, what will happen is that we, as advisors and our clients, will start to trust the technology, which means that we must do something inimitable that the technology cannot do, and that is have a relationship, engender trust, look into the eyes, have a smile. That's what we need. That's the most important thing. Number 2, put your hand up if you are wearing an Apple iPhone watch, or a Samsung Gear watch, or a smart watch. Hands up high so I can see. Wow, well, like 15-20% of the room. Technologically advanced group here. Let's talk about life insurance, shall we? How will the watch affect life insurance? Have you ever thought about that? I think about it all the time. So I bought a life insurance policy 15 years ago, the first time I was ever at MDRT, from an MDRT member named Frank Andrioli from Canada. Frank, yes, absolutely. And Frank has been my advisor ever since. And I remember, he said, Nick, this is the type of life insurance you want. He came to my house, he met me, he met my wife. We went through my expenses, my revenue, my expectations, my risks, and we came up with a plan. He left. Who came to my house a week later? A nurse. This is what happens when you purchase life insurance. And what did the nurse do? She took my blood, I peed in a cup, took my pulse, took my blood pressure, asked me a few questions. Nick, do you smoke? No. Do you drink? No. Are your parents still alive? Yup. Then she left. She was at my house for 5 minutes. I have been paying the same bill every year for 15 years because of this woman that came to my house 15 years ago that assessed me for 5 minutes. Has my life changed? A little bit. What does the watch know about me? Everything. Give me an example of some of the things the watch knows about me. How many steps I took yesterday? My heart rate, my pulse, my UV index. My watch also measures my motionlessness index, how well I slept. Knows everything. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if somebody came up with a life insurance policy? Bear with me for a second. I'm going to innovate, develop a whole brand new product. If there's any insurance manufacturers in the house, close your ears. I'm coming up with a new invention right now. Where based on your health in the previous 24 hours, you would get adjusted 1/365th of your annual premium. You had a good day yesterday, you ate well, your pulse was good, you exercised, premium goes down a little bit for the next day. Wouldn't that be awesome? You had a bad day yesterday, ate too much pizza late last night, drank too much, didn't have any sleep, partied too much, premium goes up the next day. Aha. Dynamically priced life insurance premiums. Now, who would be able to enter the insurance market to develop such a product? Apple. Is Apple in the insurance business? What's the answer? Not yet is the answer. You nailed it. So there's another example of how technology can disrupt the industry. It's very, very important for us to understand these things, to keep our eyes open, because there are industries who were disrupted whose eyes were closed. What happened to Airbnb in the hotel industry? What happened to Uber in the taxi industry? They weren't paying attention. We need to pay attention as MDRT members. Drones. My son wanted a drone for his birthday. Why? Because, hey, kids, they don't want cheap gifts no more. So I gave him a DJI Phantom drone. You heard of DJI Phantom drone? Yeah. So he takes it out right out of the box, goes in front of my house and flies it. And I'm there beside him looking at his phone, and it's in high definition. What the drone sees is what I see. Awesome. I didn't have a toy like that when I was a kid. Goes up my house, slowly, 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 slowly. Looks over my roof, and he goes over my roof, and I say to him, go over there. Go over there. And he goes to the right. Go over there. Go over there. And he's pinpointing to the corner of the roof of my house. What do I see? A broken tile. The eaves trough open. Rain could seep through, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's why there's a brown water spot in the ceiling of my bedroom in that spot of the house. And I'm freaking out. I'm going, oh my God, Charlie, you have found the secret. Charlie, you have found the secret. This is so awesome. And my son is looking at me going, what is wrong with my dad? He just blew a lot of money on this gift and he's freaking out. He goes, you don't understand. This is knowledge. Knowledge is power. I can fix this now for $50. Or I can do what everybody in this auditorium does, which is what? Nothing. When we see a one spot in the ceiling, we say what? It's not big yet. It's only one. And then we have to fix it later, 5, 10, 15 years later for $20,000. So $50 now, or $20,000 later. Which one would you choose? I'll pick $50 now, thank you very much. So my son brings the drone down. He's so excited. He looks at me and he says, Daddy, what if I take the drone and do a 90-second video of all our neighbors' roofs and sell the video to them for $5 each? Do you think they would buy that video? I turn to my son and I say, that's entrepreneurship, son! Again, technology disrupts in ways that we don't necessarily consider, but also creates opportunities where we never saw them before. Let's move along. The education revolution. It's coming. It's going to hit your industry, and it's already hit my industry. Let's talk about my industry first, shall we? University education. Do you know that universities sit on some of the most expensive real estate on the planet? In Canada, in the US, and Australia, I'm sure everywhere in Asia as well. And do you know that every single university complains that they have no money? And do you know right now, if we were to ask, it's Tuesday afternoon, How many offices or buildings are currently utilized in a university right now? What percentage do you think that would be? 5, 10%, maybe? 90% of the offices and buildings are empty? And when you know that you have a 5 or 10% capacity utilization, what happens to your business? It goes down the drain. That's not a scenario that's going to last. It is being disrupted. Let's talk about Australia. How many Aussies in the house? Put your hand up, Aussies in the house. My good friend Godfrey tells me that you're going to be dealing with FASIA in 6 years. For those of us that don't understand, FASIA is going to be legislated educational requirement to continue as a financial advisor. And then in 2 years, we also have to write an ethics exam to continue as a financial advisor. Now I say awesome, good, excellent. Why? Because when you have an industry that elevates the standards, it becomes a better industry. So I, as a financial advisor here in Sydney or Melbourne or Perth, I don't shy away from a degree or an education or a standard. I go get it. I do what it takes to go get it. Because we have a challenge in our industry for those of us that haven't realized. How many young people are becoming financial advisors?
So many.
Not that many. And how many of us are getting a little bit older? Too many.
Everybody.
Which means there's a massive opportunity in the middle. With no young people coming into our industry and people getting a little bit older, everybody in this room, boom, that's the market you go after. And it's a huge market opportunity. Education is power. Find the standard, get the standard, be the standard. I don't look at educational standards as a negative for moving our industry forward. I look at it as an opportunity to create an inimitable advantage for me to grab that market that nobody else is going to get. And you can also do it with blended learning. Why? Because blended learning is the new modern way of learning. Not everything happens in a classroom or in a theater like today. Sometimes it's blended. I teach you in a theater yesterday for 20 minutes. I teach you today again for an hour. And then after that, perhaps we have a relationship online, or you take an online course mixed in with traditional classroom courses. But the real technology, I'm telling you, is right here. It's in your phone. Most of learning moving forward will be through mobile technology. All I got to do is look at my children. My children, they stare at this thing all day long. I don't know about you guys, maybe I'm too old, but I can't watch a Netflix movie on my phone for 2 hours. And for my kids, it's like no problem. So the question now becomes, how do you manage your learning moving forward? Well, it's a mix of the three. You pick. Traditional, online, mobile. For me, I like traditional. I like looking into the eyes of my instructor. I like socializing with my fellow classmates. But for some people, perhaps it's mobile. They like doing it by themselves, on the bus, going to work. The only advice that I have for you is do not impose a learning strategy on your colleagues at work through some policy that won't work. Everybody in your office might be a little bit different. Could be by age, by gender, by style, by preference. But just do yourselves a favor. If you're going to invest in the education, because we all need education to move our business forward and move our industry forward, make sure that you have all three channels covered. Traditional, online, and mobile. And let the learner understand what's most important. I'm going to give you another piece of advice as a financial advisor that I think is very, very important. We keep on talking about learning here a lot at MDRT. All words that end in shun. Education, collaboration, socialization, shun, 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 shun. Too many shun words. You know what I think we should also start talking about at MDRT? Unlearning. I believe unlearning is just as important as learning. Because sometimes we do things over and over and over again the same way, and you know what? It still doesn't work. That's when you have to unlearn it. Now some of you are asking me, how the hell do you unlearn something? Well, let me tell you, I'm a strategy professor. You know that we've been teaching strategy in business school the same way for 40 years. You do a mission and a vision, strat plan, business objectives, boom. You're supposed to look out 5 years into the future, right? How many of y'all know what's going to happen 5 years from now? Why are we doing strat plans every year, looking out 5 years? How many of y'all know what's going to happen 5 years from now? I don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. It's part of the process. It's really the process that's important, not the actual plan itself. It's getting your team together and doing the mission and the vision for the purposes of education, so you can accelerate collaboration. But make no mistake, what I want every single one of you to do, next time you go through a strategy process, is put your hand up in the meeting and tell your boss, we tried this last year and it didn't work. How do we unlearn this process? You know why you need to do that? Because you gotta make space for something new. If you keep on putting a document onto a hard drive over and over and over again, what happens to the hard drive eventually? It blows up, right? You get the BSOD, blue screen of death. Our brains are the same way. You can't keep on stuffing new things on your brains. You can't have MDRT keep on telling you, we have new rules now for compliance. We have new rules now for education. We have new rules now for standards. We have new rules for globalization. We have new products. We have new hybrids. We have new distribution channels. We have new government regulations. Oh my God, enough's enough. I'm tired already. Take the time to unlearn certain things so that you have space to learn new things. Next one. How many of you thought that a speaker would come up here on the main platform at MDRT and show you a picture of a toilet? This is going to be a first in history. I'm going to talk a little bit about digital poop for a second. We've been spending our whole lives talking about health, exercising, feel good, well-being. And we've been talking a lot about what we put in this hole. What we need to start doing also is talk about what's coming out the other hole. I'm sorry if I'm being a little disgusting here, but hear me out. This is very, very important. Yesterday I was talking about inanimate objects speaking to each other. Do you remember? Yeah. I was talking about how the fridge was talking to the microwave, and the microwave was talking to her weight scale, and her weight scale was giving her an alert. The Internet of Things. Remember that story? Imagine now this scenario, okay? Your watch tells you that you didn't sleep well last night. You didn't do your steps either. Your fridge tells you that the orange juice that's in the fridge is not there anymore. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you don't give your spouse a hug, which you should have. That was your first mistake. But the first thing that you do is you run and you go to the toilet to do your business. That's the first thing we do every morning. Your brand new modern IP digital toilet does a diagnostic for you. You do your business and all of a sudden your toilet tells you, Nick, you had a bad night last night, didn't you? I can tell. Late night at the club, drank too much, ate too much. Holy smokes, Nick, that's bad. Well, let me tell you something, Nick. I have a surprise for you. I already spoke to your watch. Your heart rate wasn't doing too well. Your sleep didn't do too well. Your exercise ain't doing too well. I already spoke to the fridge, too. Guess what? You got no orange juice, but that's okay, because guess what I did? I already contacted Amazon.com. Amazon.com 2 years from now has a blimp over every urban center around the world with perishable foods. Contacted them to deliver some freshly squeezed vitamin C orange juice to deliver right in front of your house that you will have to drink. And guess what? All this happened. Your fridge talked to your watch, talked to your toilet, talked to Amazon, and you're still on the toilet doing your business. This is the Internet of Things. Interacting with one another constantly. And we need to understand what the impact is on our business. You recall yesterday I talked about how sometimes insurance policies aren't read by the client. How do you get a confirmation that documents that are supposed to be read by the client are read by the client? Because let's be honest, in our industry, we fake it. Go to this page, sign your initials. Did they read anything? Did they understand anything? But with sensors on documentation that actually can track eyeballs, we can actually confirm whether individuals read something or not moving forward. Same thing goes with life insurance by having sensors speak to the manufacturer. Hey, that premium that Nick is paying for the last 15 years, guess what? You need to actually give him a little bit of a discount because Nick is doing good with his health, eating well. His wife, she's on top of him, keeping him in good shape. I would love that discount. Are they doing it in car insurance industry? How many people in your country right now is auto insurance adjusted by driving with sensors in the vehicle? Put your hands up. Okay? Yeah. I can tell you in Canada, we have insurance providers right now. They will put a piece into the vehicle, and based on your speeding and your braking and your turning, they will also adjust. Now, some of you might be saying to me, oh my God, Nick, this is too much. Big Brother. 1984, George Orwell. Too many people spying on me. Too many people looking at what I'm doing. Here, let me give you a piece of advice. Everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody already. As soon as we walk outside of this room, guess how many cameras took a shot of your head? Probably 25. When I talk about technology, I think it's ubiquitous. Yes, I want to protect my own information. Yes, I want to protect my family. But if we think that we're protecting something that other people are doing to us, we're sadly mistaken. That technology is out there already. Let's move to the last one, food and imitability. One thing we never talk about, food. The smell of food. My wife is a real estate agent. She sells peace and calmness, just like you. And in the real estate industry, they have a secret that I didn't know until I went to watch her work a couple times. When they have an open house, guess what they do in the house before somebody comes in? They bake cookies. That's right. Because the baking of cookies smells comfortable, nice, sweet, like Mama used to make back in the day. And my wife tells me, that's the secret to slaying that customer deal. So I ask you this question. How many of you have ever taken the advantage of food inimitability when you've gone to secure a deal with your client? It's a very interesting question. Now, I know there was somebody here at MDRT that did a presentation on going out to dinner at the right places when you meet with your clients. And I think that's also the same scenario that I'm talking about. But let me give you a piece of advice. It does require you to do receiver analysis a priori, which means make sure you find out what the person likes before you take them to a wicked restaurant. Don't be taking them to the best sushi restaurant on the planet when the person don't like sushi. Find out somehow, either through them or their colleagues or their family, what their first choice meal is. Take them to that place. And that gets you one step closer to engendering that relationship. So here's an example of a best practice in the real estate industry that we can learn to pass on into our industry as we manage the wealth of our clients. All right. My next slide is about the 4 things that I think you all need to do to protect yourselves against disruptive technology. Before I get to this slide, there's 4 processes: socialization, externalization, combination, internalization. Think of it as SECI, S-E-C-I. Think of it that way. I need to explain to you the difference between tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. When you're a financial advisor, you have 2 pieces of knowledge. Tacit knowledge is the knowledge that's in your head, your expertise, your experience, your education, all the wisdom that you got in your brain. Explicit knowledge is what? It's all the stuff that's written down. Documents, PDFs, PowerPoint presentations, your hard drive, your brochures, your printed materials. Those are the assets that you bring to the table as a financial advisor when you're about to sell. Tacit knowledge, explicit knowledge. If you want to share your tacit knowledge with a customer, how do you do that? It goes from tacit to tacit. I am sharing my expertise with Harry. It's going from my brain to Harry's brain. That process is called socialization. We meet face-to-face, old school, physically, one-on-one, tete-a-tete. Now, how many of y'all socialize every day? Some of you don't. My boss, my first boss at the bank, My original boss, he said, Nick, I'm going to give you the best investment advice ever. He goes, here's the best advice I'm ever going to give you. You want to become rich one day? This is it. Go to lunch with somebody different every day. Now, I was 22 years old when I first started working at the bank, and I tried to do that, and it got expensive after a while. 22-year-old don't got a lot of money. But now, later on in my career, I understand what he was trying to tell me. He was saying, Nick, hey, you got to keep on meeting people. You got to open your social network, even when you don't want to, and you're tired, and you're shy. Some of us are introverted. Not every single salesperson in this room is extroverted. You might think that I'm extroverted because I'm a speaker. I'm actually very shy. I'm an introvert. But what we got to do is socialize. Every day is an opportunity to socialize. For example, lunchtime. Some of you don't take lunch. You sit there at your computer all day, working. Are you working? Are you being productive? The only thing that knows what you eat every day is your keyboard. Look at the crumbs in your keyboard. Take time to socialize every day. Through lunch, that's important. The socialization process is critical in my opinion. We got to do more of that. Number 2, externalization. Okay, I've now met with Harry, we've socialized, developed rapport. I've got to give him something to take away, a document. I've got to externalize what's in my brain to give him something. And this is where we make the biggest mistake as financial advisors. The biggest mistake. Yes, we meet with people at their house, at their place of business, and then what do? We leave them with something that's a mess. 50 pages, too much small print, too much technical jargon, written in a language the person doesn't understand, but we feel good because I'm a financial advisor. I left him all the documentation that's necessary. It reviews all the products, the Excel spreadsheet. I've got scenario plannings. I have permutations and combinations for 100 different variables. I'm king. I am a financial advisor. And I'm here to tell you, you probably could have done more with less. Yes, there's the minimal requirement in terms of compliance, in terms of what we must externalize. But oh my Lord, I've seen some financial advisors leave messes with people. It actually turned them off. People were excellent one-on-one, and when they left them with documentation, the person was like, yeah, I'm not going to read this. So if you recall from my presentation yesterday, I'd like to make a reiteration here. Receiver analysis. That is the most important skill you can possess as a financial advisor. You see Harry? I got no problem with Harry. Harry and I, we have a good relationship. We socialize, we develop rapport. I can send him an email. No problem. But Sanjay doesn't like email. Sanjay likes WhatsApp. I know that about Sanjay. So I'm not going to send Sanjay a bloody 50 mega PDF document. I'm going to send him a WhatsApp message. Because that's better. Right? Godfrey doesn't like email or WhatsApp. I got to see Godfrey face to face on Fridays only at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I got to bring 2 chocolate donuts with me. That's receiver analysis. Understanding that it's not about how I want to externalize, but how the client wants to receive. Because the problem with the phones, it's made us lazy, eh? We all have databases and CRM systems, and we think if we email 3,000 people and give them an update, that we communicated, that we collaborated. No, we didn't. We bombarded. So the first step, socialization. Second step, externalize through receiver. Third step, combination. Now, what is combination? Let me give you a little bit of history here. All the new products and innovations of the world are a result of combination. Who knows 3M Post-it notes? Anybody know the famous story of 3M Post-it notes? It's a famous business case. We teach it to all of our MBAs. 3M, decades ago, invented some glue. And the glue didn't work. It was crappy glue. That was one business. Another side of the business, so this was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. In London, Ontario, they invented little colored paper. Useless. No market for little yellow colored paper. All of a sudden, the leadership of 3M said, these 2 disparate parts of the organization should combine together. Maybe they can create something new. And the glue that didn't work so well got together with the little colored paper, and boom, what did they create? A $1 billion business.
Stickers.
Now, how do we take this lesson as financial advisors? MDRT. We are a global powerhouse. Whatever best practice you want, I'm telling you, is in this room. Whatever secret you want to build your business is in this room. Whatever tips you want to help you improve is in this room. If you are struggling with something right now in your business to build your book, I guarantee you, that thing that you're struggling with, the person over there probably already solved that problem, which forces you to maximize your combinatory opportunities, again, through socialization. Do you remember yesterday when I asked you, are you sitting beside somebody you know? Okay, a day later, who took my lesson? Are you sitting beside somebody you know? Put your hand up. Yeah, see? You're lazy, aren't you? I know why you're sitting beside that person. Because mama told you when you were a kid, don't sit next to strangers. Well, let me tell you something. We ain't strangers here. We are building the wealth of the globe here. Try not to sit next to a stranger. Sorry, try to sit next to a stranger at the next MDRT session. Got a bunch of sessions tomorrow, pick a stranger. Go find somebody you don't know completely. Say, I'm gonna sit beside you. Tell me about yourself. What are you struggling with? What are you really good at? What do you need help at? I'll tell you the same. Let's make a match. That's what socialization, externalization, and combination is all about. And finally, internalization. Internalization is making sure you understand those processes and you actually act on them. There's nothing worse than somebody who talks about all the plans they want to do and then they end up doing nothing. The worst strategy is the strategy that's never executed. We know as strategic planning professors, there's no problem in creating a vision and a mission. But then if you don't execute to that vision or mission, you've done really nothing for yourself. Internalization is listening to your customers and listening to each other, more importantly. Understand, because that's where innovation comes from. This is my last slide. This is the slide that I want you to take your phones out and take a photo of. Everybody take your phones out. This is your homework. I'm a university professor. Homework assignment. Okay, these are the 5 things you're going to do when you go back to work on Monday. You're going back to work on Monday? You're going to stick around in Sydney for a bit? Okay. 5 things we're going to do when we go back to work on Monday. Here we go. Number 1, raise awareness about information bombardment, behaviors are emulated, receiver analysis. What does that mean? I want you to go around to your place of work and I want you to confirm receiver analysis for your top clients. Let me repeat. Confirm receiver analysis for your top clients. What that means is make sure you are emulating the right behavior. The clients that you have that have your biggest asset, your biggest book, are you sending them information in the way they prefer to it? Or are you sending them information because you think that's how they prefer it? Ask, find out. Don't be shy. Ask the question. Say, hi, I've been emailing you for 10 years. Is email okay? And they're going to tell you, you know what, actually? I don't like email at all. Every time you send me an email, it actually upsets me. I wish you would send it through postal mail. Oh, my God. Or I don't like WhatsApp. I don't use WhatsApp. WhatsApp sucks. I use Facebook Messenger. Or I use WeChat, or whatever it is. You don't know unless you ask. And guess what? These are your biggest customers. And if you took away your 5 biggest customers, what would happen to your book? I guarantee you, it would be smaller. Conduct receiver analysis. Another thing, when we send emails to each other, don't include an attachment. Attachments suck. Email is not a distribution channel for chat. Financial advisors love sending big PowerPoint decks. Oh, I came and did this PowerPoint presentation at your kitchen. Here is the 20 mega version of the PowerPoint presentation in an email for you to have so we can review it with your husband. So many times the wife and the husband review that PowerPoint deck. This many times. Instead, send a pointer to where the file is. You understand? Let them choose to download it or not. Don't force it on them. That's bombardment. When we send emails to each other, never send an attachment. Send them a link to where they can get it if they so choose. And envelope the email. Enveloping the email is very, very simple. It takes 2 lines on an email. It just says, by the way, here's a PowerPoint presentation. If you really want to download it, go ahead. But I would focus on slides 3 and 4. Slides 3 and 4 pertain specifically to that idea that your husband really liked. Now that's a wicked email. Not what we do. Forward. We don't say anything. Forward. Do not bombard people with attachments. You know what sending an attachment is like? I'll give you an example. Khari, come to my house for a Greek dinner, Friday night, 7 o'clock, okay? Moussaka, come to my house for moussaka, okay? Kharila, moussaka, Friday night, 7 o'clock. He knocks on my door. Friday night, 7 o'clock, Khari comes to my door. He knocks on my door. He opens the door. As soon as he takes 1 step into my house, what do? I take the moussaka and I shove it down his throat. That's what sending an attachment is like.
Không, đoàn 6 giờ đó.
Does everybody understand? It's rude. Whose inbox is it? Yours or the other person's? The other person's. Don't abuse that privilege. Number 2, training is the number 1 most important asset you possess. That's why I'm in support of FASIA. I'm in support of you guys building your credentials, your certificates. That's the only thing that matters in this world right now. So here's that metric, T&D per FTE. The amount of money you spend in training and development divided by the number of full-time equivalents. I want you to understand what that metric means. Some of you work in organizations, right? You work on teams, or you work in units. How much money do you spend on development training? Divided by the number of people in that group, and that's your T&D per FTE. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the intellectual horsepower of your financial advising group. What you don't know about me as an academic researcher is that I focus on human capital analytics. That number, T&D per FTE, is a number that proves that you are investing in the people in your practice. And sometimes you don't want to invest in the people in your practice because maybe you had a bad year. Well, guess what? When you have a bad year, that's when you invest in the people in your practice even more so. I conducted my PhD dissertation in this area. Investing in T&D per FTE is the number 1 antecedent impact on financial outcomes. And just don't forget, it's not all traditional, it's not all online, it's not all mobile. It's what the recipient thinks is the best mix of the 3. That's the most important investment. Because when you invest in T&D per FTE, you invest in the Re's, Renew, retool, relearn, recertify, reprofessionalize. And that's what we need to do as financial advisors. Keep on renewing, because if we don't renew, we do not want to become the taxi industry. We do not want to become the hotel industry. We want to move forward. Number 3, socialization. I talked about socialization yesterday. I talked about socialization today. I keep on talking about socialization. There's only one group of any of you in this amphitheater that socialize every day. Do you know who it is? The smokers outside. That's it. Every day, 10:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m. Microcosm of the organization. No bureaucracy, no org chart, no political affiliation. Power in the flame. What's the fastest thing that spreads in the organization? Gossip and rumors. Who knows first? Smokers. They know everything faster than anybody. I am not condoning smoking. Smoking is a bad thing. All I'm telling you is they socialize. It's in their calendar. They make it happen no matter what. And they freak out when they're on a plane for 10 hours and they can't socialize, if you know what I'm talking about. We got to do the same thing. Number 4, use technology to make you look smart. How many of you go to Google and look for things? Or you go to your Asian search engine and look for things? Everybody does that. You know what? I don't go to Google anymore. You know why? Because I go to Google for the same stuff over and over and over again. To help my business, I want Google to send me stuff before I even ask for it. That's smart. I told you that I am responsible for doing research in the field of intellectual capital. How many times in my career have I gone to Google and typed in the word intellectual capital? Millions. I don't do that no more. I set up a Google alert. In my Google alert, I put quote, intellectual capital quote, and Google sends me an email every 9 a.m. in the morning. And in that email are all the websites in the Anglophonic world that have the word intellectual capital in them from the previous night. Why is that important to me? Because my inimitability as a researcher is to know something first before the competition. Because if I know something before you, I win. So if I know what's been going on in the world of intellectual capital in the last 24 hours before any other professor in the world, I win. Use Google Alerts to get you information faster. Perhaps there are business owners in your community. Put their names on Google Alerts. Perhaps your biggest clients have a business. Put the client's name on Google Alerts. You should find out what your clients are doing before they tell you, oh, by the way, I bought a new business. No. That's a bad financial advisor. A really good financial advisor knew as soon as it became public information that they purchased a business because a Google alert was sent to your inbox so that you could call the floors to send the wife of the business owner the flowers celebrating that they got the new business. That makes you a killer financial advisor. Use Google Alerts to make you look smart. Same thing with email. We talked a little bit about email yesterday. Too much email. Use rules. I use rules all the time in my email. In my course outline for my students, it says the first characters on the subject line are the course code. And the first 9 characters in the text of the email is their student number. Why? Because I want the emails to flow. I want them acted upon before I even get them. It's very, very simple. It's not complicated to set it up in Outlook. Email from Harry goes to the trash. Right? Simple. I'm not saying that you set up anything like that for your clients, but you gotta have your email and your program organized with wizards, make you work smarter. I hate it when I have more than 30 emails in my inbox. I hate it. If I have more than 30, I feel like I'm ineffective, that it's a mess, that it's a disaster. But let me tell you, I got 5,000 students. I get tons of emails. But nothing makes me happier when I wake up in the morning and I check my smartphone and I got like, what, 4 or 5 emails? That's it. Because all the rest have already been acted on. Love that. You know what the number 1 function on your smartphone is? The number 1 function? Delete. There's nothing more satisfying than deleting an email, eh? Taken care of, boom, delete, gone, trash, love it. That's what we need to get. Cleanse our brain. Last one. I want you to diagnose your knowledge absorption rate. Now, this is an Anglophonic test, so I apologize for some of you from other Asian countries that don't speak English. But I have a website, nickbontis.com. You can check it out. I encourage you to check it out. Go to the fun stuff section, and there's a test. It's free, and it will diagnose your knowledge absorption rate. Get ready. Do you remember yesterday when I asked you how many y'all can read? How many y'all put up your hand? 90% of the room put up their hand, eh? Oh yeah, prove it to me. Do a test and find out what your knowledge absorption rate is. It's a very interesting exercise, an academic exercise. The average person can read at 200 words per minute. That's why it says 200 words per minute. 200. If you get above average, awesome. Celebrate. If you get less, don't tell nobody. You're a bad financial advisor. You're not absorbing information. What we need to understand is that in a world that's getting faster and faster, how are we going to absorb the information that's necessary? I think about my kids in a global market with technology. How are they going to read? I can't even respond to the emails I'm getting from people. And now you're telling me that I'm going to have more emails coming to me from my toilet? How are our kids going to survive in that world 5 to 10 years from now? We have to be able to absorb voluminous amounts of information and distill those essences, the nuggets that we really need. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again because you gave me the best asset that you possess, which is your attention.